New FK farm is just Freyna existing. Yup. All right. This is the like round 9 and 10. See how she does. Okay, well, things are already dying. I haven't even used an ability yet. Everything's already dead. All right, let's just dip. Let's leave C. Let's go to D. They're still dying over there. Cast 2 abilities in here. Should kill everything. Okay. They're all gonna die in there. We can just go to A. Those abilities cleared out that one. Let's get one ability down here. That cleared out D. Let's do B. Nice. Trade. Spellmonger, thank you for the gifted subs. I'm trying to just keep the gameplay going because I'm recording this for a YouTube video. That's why I'm not pausing to read everything. I should just be able to vibe now.
Descendant. We're picking up a signal.
Yo guys, what is up? Max on our first Descendant video, and today we're going over the reworked Freyna. Now, Freyna, 2 days ago, got a massive rework that changed the way that her skills work. They buffed her damage up by like 18 times. She had a 10% modifier on room 0 trauma. It's now like 180% modifier. So not only is she just doing way more damage, but she is just much better at all of the scenarios that you'd want her to be good at. She's incredibly powerful at mobbing, and she is really good at bossing as well. I genuinely think that she is now a top Descendant, arguably like top 3, maybe even top 1. She is just absolutely disgusting. And the reason I wanted to make this video was not to like have a build for you to follow, because obviously Ultimate Freyna is coming out in a few days, and I would strongly recommend waiting to invest into your Freyna until Ultimate Freyna drops. So I just kind of wanted to talk about why is she so good, her best modules, and the build that I'm using right now. But I haven't like recatalyzed my build or like fully min-maxed it yet, because I'm also waiting for Ultimate Freyna. But I just kind of want to show you guys what I'm working with and why she's so strong right now. Hope you enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. So the first thing to talk about with Freyna is her ability to now stack up tons and tons of dots on enemies in a really large radius. So the way that Freyna functions now is you've got 4 skills that all apply a room 0 trauma, basically dot on enemies, which is now dealing 18 times more damage than it used to deal. And then if you proc room 0 trauma on an enemy, that dot that it applies to nearby enemies is a different type of dot, and each skill has its own different type of dot, and all of those dots stack, and you're able to scale up her dot damage like crazy. It used to be that you would have to like use your room 0 trauma on an enemy, and it would spread 6 times that amount of damage to nearby enemies. Now, the dots that you're putting on just directly at enemies is going to deal more damage than the spread damage, but all of that spread damage is going to stack. So with Freyna, you're going to want to be using like all of her abilities and kind of spamming them, keeping them up all the time, and you're able to debuff and like dot everything around you. Like maybe it was like a month ago, they buffed Freyna's range. She now has a max expandable range of 300%. And they buffed her base range. She is now like really, really easy just to cast her dots at one area of enemies, and it's spread throughout like a map. The range on her like spread is ridiculous, and that only gets even crazier once we get to Contagion, which we'll talk about in a second. But just note that Freyna is dealing a lot more damage. She no longer has to focus her damage on like using her abilities next to the thing that she wants to kill. She's just going to do a bunch of damage regardless of how you're playing her, wherever you're casting your skills. She just pumps damage now. Now, currently, you are technically losing damage by using Contagion because you are like eliminating a lot of her dot damage. But as it stands right now, there's nothing in the game in PvE content that's tanky enough that would be surviving Freyna dots to not use Contagion. But we do have a new dungeon coming out that's going to be a 400% infiltration dungeon. And there, Contagion might not be her best mod. You might want all that extra dot damage. But for now, for mainly mobbing, I've been using Contagion. We're also going to be talking about Venom Synthesis, which makes her speedy, which is a really cool mod. But Contagion allows her to do these like crazy chain procs. So now with Freyna's changes, how we build her is going to be a bit different. And the biggest change to building her is before we were working with 10% modifier. So adding any bit of modifier was a drastic damage increase. Now she's got a 160% modifier, so we don't need as much modifier. We can more focus on scaling her base damage. Modifier is still going to be amazing, but it's not as crucial for her. So there's a few changes that we can do. For example, in the old build, I was using Tech Master. This gives us skill power plus tech skill power modifier. I was just using this to get even more modifier. This is no longer a good mod on her because she no longer needs that like little bit of extra modifier. So now the mods that we're going to be rocking are focus on toxic. This is going to give us toxic power and cooldown. And we're also going to be using focus on tech. This is going to give us more modifier and more cooldown. Cooldown and modifier are both really, really fantastic on her. And this is kind of the building blocks of our damage. Next up, we're going to want range. Freyna wants as much range as possible. Obviously, you don't want to overcap your range, but with 300% expandable, we're going to want to be using skill expansion and maximize range. These will give us up to 286% range, so we're almost capped. If you roll range on your reactor, you will cap range slash overcap it, which I have right now. So now we can see that I'm like max ranged with her with just these two modules. Next up, we do want to be able to spam her skills. We already have some cooldown with our focus mods. We're going to throw in MP conversion for 36% more skill cooldown, which is fantastic. This will allow us to spam our abilities. We're also going to want some HP. I just throw on an HP modifier. And this is kind of the core of her build. If you're looking for what mods to put on her first, you can kind of stop here. This is the core of it, and then everything else is just extra. And so for our extras, we're going to want a few things. First off, if you're playing solo, I really like MP Collector. It's my favorite mod to use for MP regen. If you're playing in co-op, you can replace that with Energy Collection. The main reason is MP Collector, you need to get kills, and like sometimes with Freyna, enemies can steal your kills. I think with buff Freyna, enemies will, or like your teammates will no longer be stealing your kills. If anything, you're going to be stealing all of your teammates' kills. We're like out clearing bunnies in runs. So I think MP Collector is the way to go there. Next up, we can go for a gold mod. If you're like farming trash mobs and insta spawn killing them, you can actually use Dangerous Ambush. This allows you to kind of do the same thing that Viesa does or Valby does, where you're killing enemies as they're spawning in. And this is obviously your best like damage increase for that. Obviously, that's only for specific content. So for most content, I would recommend Decimator. This is going to give us a 50% modifier anytime an enemy is dying to us, and we're proccing this like debuff on every kill, so it's super easy to keep Decimator fully stacked. There's like never really a time that we're playing Freyna and it's not fully stacked, so tons of extra damage there. And now we get into like her final mods. With her like ability to spread her AoE and the fact that you want to use her for a while and keep all of this poison up and keep the chains happening, I'm actually going to be throwing a duration mod on her, which is really nice. Duration's just quality of life. It's not overly necessary. It is more dot damage because the dots tick for longer, and it makes it easier to spread your dots if there's a delay between spawns. I've had a round end, and without recasting my skills, the enemies are still dying to my dots because they're still around, which is pretty crazy. So I'm going to go skill extension there. And then the last mod for this, there's a few options. You could go Nimble. Nimble gives you more skill cooldown, which is great. You could go Venom Succinctium, which is great. I still need to like catalyze my Freyna more. Obviously, I'm not doing that right now because Ultimate Freyna is around the corner. But I think what actually is going to be the best mod on her, and part of the reason why I'm not like doing a full catalyze, is TFD devs just announced that they're adding a new module on October 10th that's going to boost skill power or firearm attack instead of critical hit on October 10th to encourage the use of weapons and Descendants that have low critical hit rates. Freyna has a 5% critical hit rate, and so to buff up her damage more than like having to put on a bunch of crits, you could just go for this new module that's going to go right here, that's going to buff up the damage of our skills without like kind of going for crit. So that sounds like it's going to be like a perfect last mod for her, and that's what we're going to be going. For her bossing build, previously we used neurotoxin synthesis. This mod would allow your poison damage to not spread, but it would deal more dot damage. I don't know if this is bugged or intentional, so like kind of keep an eye on if the devs update this, but now it no longer increases your dot damage. As you can see on my fourth ability, I have 188 base modifier. If I take it off, now I have 188 base modifier, and I'm actually even technically almost losing damage because I'm no longer proccing Nightmare. So that's really weird. Neurotoxin was her best like bossing thing, and now like you genuinely don't need it at all. It is still kind of nice because you can proc attack decreases on bosses and weaken their regeneration, but just note that this is no longer a necessary mod. I'm still like putting it on just because I'm assuming that this is bugged. The devs plan to fix this. I don't know if that's actually the case or not, but I really do hope that they look into it because this used to be really cool because it would make you deal more dot damage, but your dot damage wouldn't spread. Now you just deal less dot damage, and or technically, yeah, you deal less dot damage and your dots don't spread. So it's really weird, but technically this should be her best in slot Transcendent module for bossing. Now, on bossing, some important things to note is we are actually going to be scaling up crit. We're going to be shooting our gun a lot, which is a lot of hits of damage. And we're also going to be getting all those dot ticks, which is a lot of hits of damage. So even though she doesn't have like the greatest critical hit rate, it's still like 15% for 4 times damage. And there's not that many things to increase our damage right now. Like, once again, that new mod could be added and maybe we won't go crit for Ultimate Freyna, but I really doubt it. The big things here, we're going to go 4 crit mods: Skill Insight, Frontlines, Emergency Measures, Skill Concentration. We're going to go Toxic Specialist for a bunch of extra power. We're going to go Dangerous Ambush so that when we're shooting the boss with our 4th ability, we're going to get extra damage against them. Skill Extension, we need enough duration so that we can shoot the whole time. Skill Simplification for extra modifier for the 4th ability so that our dots tick for more. Increased HP so that the bosses don't kill us quickly and Reddit doesn't hate me. And then lastly, you can throw on a like cooldown mod if you wanted to. If you like leveled up this all the way, you could go for MP conversion here. Basically just gives you the option to use her 4th a little bit more often. Unfortunately, with her 4th ability right now, it's just on a really low cooldown, and so technically the fastest way to kill with the 4th, if you don't kill the boss in one cast, is to jump off the edge of the map. And if you're gonna go that route, then you could just replace this like nimble fingers here with something like, I would probably go Spear and Shield. I technically have like a wasted Nimble Fingers mod here. If we were like fully min-maxing this for like Ultimate Freyna, I would replace this with either Spear and Shield for some extra skill power, or more likely we would go Venom Succinctium for a larger toxic skill power boost. And that would be kind of the final mod. Cooldown is nice for Freyna's 4th, but unfortunately, its base cooldown is just so long that unless you like really invest into cooldown, it just takes a really long time to get it back. You're better off just kind of jumping off the edge of the map and then getting your cooldown back instantly. Lastly, we've got the Bunny Who build, which is using Venom Synthesis. This mod allows Freyna to move very quickly. It's not quite bunny speed. It's technically Viessa speed. Viessa, when she procs her 2, is a 30% movement speed. So Freyna can also mimic this, get a 30% movement speed. And this build allows you to move quickly. It does a bunch of damage. It actually does technically more damage than the Contagion build because you're not losing those extra dot damages. But we're really focused on some good cooldowns so that we can chain this. As you can see, the Venom Soak duration is 22 seconds. Toxic Footprints is 11 seconds, and the cooldown is 12 seconds. So we're basically having this up all the time. We're able to run around and cast her skills on low cooldown, poison proc, everything. Still, it's basically just the mobbing build, but we're just changing Venom Synthesis. Nothing else really changes here. And then the last slot, we would use that new mod that's going to buff up our damage when we're not dealing critical hits, which should be pretty perfect. Next, for weapons and reactors and external components, her main weapon is the Secret Garden. In my opinion, this is her best all-around weapon. The buffs from the Secret Garden do not apply to her 4th ability, so you do not need the Secret Garden for her 4th, but it's the best for general play. The main reason is that you have the Gardener special ability that whenever you're proccing tech skills, you have a chance to proc up to 37% skill power for her, which is fantastic, and 37% firearm attack, which is also fantastic. Freyna has 3 tech skills, so just by using your skills, you're passively going to be increasing her damage. With Freyna, if you're built properly, you will not need to shoot your gun. So it's not as important to put mods on the Secret Garden. You mainly just want to get it 4 out of 4, and then try to just hold it and get a reactor with it on, so that you're going to be buffing up your damage while you're playing. This will be really, really just nice quality of life for extra damage. Fallen Hope, in my opinion, is just not good, and I wouldn't recommend the Python either for mobbing. You just don't need them. Secret Garden will buff up your damage. Things will be dying before you even have a chance to shoot at them. For bossing specific weapons, the weapon that you are using does not matter. If you're holding a rocket launcher, if you're holding a sniper, it's not like a Haley Zenith. It doesn't inherit the properties of your weapon. It doesn't take your weapon's fire rate. It doesn't care about your weapon's base damage. It's not like Glaze 4th ability. It is just pulling out an LMG. However, that LMG does specifically benefit from 3 things. Those 3 things are fire rate, mag size, and there's 2 basically special mods that apply to it. So on whatever weapon you get a reactor for, obviously with the new update coming out of the 10th, you're going to be able to hold any weapon you want, so you can apply a Python mounting to a good reactor. If you get a good reactor, you can use the Secret Garden if you want, but the big things you want are fire rate, increased magazine size. I've got expand weapon charge here, and magazine compulsion. This is going to give us a ton of extra rounds on our weapon, and then depending on the boss, you can either use Firing Fiesta or Sharp Precision Shot. Sharp Precision Shot is more DPS and will allow you to kill bosses faster. So that's what I'm going to recommend. Before, she was kind of just squeaking out boss kills, and Firing Fiesta to get extra ammo was really nice. Now she will kill bosses with plenty of ammo left. So Sharp Precision Shot to get those boss kills a little bit faster is really nice. Just make sure you're holding down the trigger of the LMG when you're shooting it. For her reactors, I would recommend tech skill power boost ratio and either cooldown or range or cost as her mobbing general use reactor. For bossing, you're going to want damage to Colossus and tech boost ratio. Damage to Colossus and tech boost ratio are going to be the best stats for her bossing. I obviously don't have that. Just got a very mediocre sub-attack power, which does nothing. But I'm just using this because it rolled gold damage to Colossus. I can't be bothered to farm another reactor right now. So we've been doing so much reactor farming. Still the same reactor from last video. For external components, I'm still on the side of just using your components that have the best rolls. I love my Annihilation Sensor that has MP recovery in combat and max MP. This makes her feel so good for just spamming her abilities. And I've got another Annihilation memory with defense and MP recovery modifier. This is great. Slayer Processor rolls with a bunch of extra HP, and we're able to get her feeling pretty good on HP and MP stuff. I just got another double HP rolled power that I use. If you want to squeak out as much damage as possible on her, I would recommend using an Annihilation Power up at the top. And then you can go for a Venom Essence Sensor. So you're going to get 2 defense rolls. And then you go Annihilation Memory because it rolls HP. And then you go Venom Processor. This is going to give you 2-piece Annihilation, 2-piece Venom. And you don't get any negative rolls. If you roll full Venom, then you get a max shield roll, which is pretty useless. So that's what I would recommend doing. This gives you the Toxic Skill Power boost and the skill duration, which are both fantastic. If you wanted to, you could go 4-piece Venom. I personally wouldn't recommend it. At max, you're getting 7% modifier, which is like less than 1%, 2% damage increase in the grand scheme of things. So I'd rather just have the duration. It's better in my opinion. But if you wanted to, you could rock full Venom. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. This video I wanted to make more so just to talk about Freyna and showcase that she's so strong right now, because I think she's really had a 180. She was a solid character, but I don't think she was the best at anything. She now is arguably one of the best, if not the best mobber when it comes to just condensed spawns. And I think she's really going to shine when her ultimate comes out and we can build her for those 400% infiltration operations. I just currently don't see a character outperforming her in that kind of content, but obviously we'll see. And obviously she's no slouch at bossing either. She's not going to beat a Haley at bossing, but she's doing some pretty crazy things. And so I cannot wait for her ultimate to drop. That's going to do it. I'll catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.